They found it in a coat lining. Sewn in, hidden. The kind of hiding you do when you're not sure you'll survive to deliver it yourself. A German soldier named Heinrich Böll, not yet the Nobel laureate he would later become, wrote home to his family from the Eastern Front so often that his letters became a kind of lifeline. But other soldiers weren't writers. They were farmers, factory workers, students who had never written anything longer than a school report. And in the last days before a battle, or the last hours before an execution, they sat down and tried anyway. This is not a story about great men. It is a story about ordinary people who found, at the very end, that they had things to say, and that the saying of them mattered more than anything else left to do. During the Second World War, the military postal services of every major combatant nation handled volumes of mail that staggers comprehension. The German Feldpost alone processed an estimated 40 billion letters and parcels between 1939 and 1945. 40 billion. Pause. The United States Army Post Office moved 14 million pieces of mail every week by 1944. Letters were not a luxury, they were infrastructure. Morale was a military resource, and letters were how you maintained it. But for every letter that was a routine report, the weather is cold, we are moving again, I am well, there was another kind. Written in a different register entirely. Written by someone who understood, clearly and without flinching, that they might not see the person they were writing to ever again. Those are the letters that survived, because families kept them, because they couldn't throw them away. Pause. Because to throw them away would be to lose the last voice. In Plötzensee prison in Berlin, between 1943 and 1945, nearly 3,000 people were executed. Many of them were members of the German resistance, men and women who had plotted against Hitler, distributed leaflets, hidden Jewish neighbors, passed military secrets to the Allies. They had been arrested, tried in courts where the verdict was decided before the first word was spoken, and sentenced to die. The night before an execution, guards sometimes, not always, but sometimes, allowed a final letter. Helmuth James von Moltke, a lawyer and one of the founders of the Kreisau Circle resistance group, wrote to his wife Freya the night before his hanging in January 1945. He had been in prison for over a year. He was 37 years old. He did not write about fear. He wrote, "I am being hanged for thinking together with Pressel and Delp." He wrote about the specific conversations that had condemned him. Not acts of sabotage, not bombs, but ideas. The Nazis had essentially put thought itself on trial, and Moltke found this clarifying. He wrote that he felt, at the end, an unexpected peace. His wife Freya kept every letter. She lived to be 98. She never stopped talking about him. In February 1943, the German Sixth Army surrendered at Stalingrad. Before the surrender, there was an airlift, supplies going in, wounded going out, and mail. In the final weeks, the Luftwaffe flew out the last letters from the encircled men. The Nazi regime had those letters screened. They were looking for defeatism, for dissent, for anything that might undermine morale if it reached home. What they found disturbed them enough that they suppressed the results, because the letters told the truth. Pause. One soldier wrote, "I have searched for God in every crater, in every destroyed house, in every corner of this city. I could not find him. No, I found him. He is not on the German side, as the field chaplain keeps insisting." Another wrote to his mother, "Do not be sad. Whatever comes now, I faced it standing up." A third, and this one the censors flagged but did not destroy, wrote simply, "I don't want to die. I'm 22 years old and I have seen nothing yet. I want to see spring again." Pause. He did not see it. Here is what the historians who study these letters say. Almost unanimously, the letters changed the war. Not in terms of outcomes. Stalingrad still happened. Plötzensee still happened. The 55 million dead are still dead. But the letters change what the war means. Because they are proof that inside every uniform, inside every prison number tattooed in blue ink, there was a specific consciousness. A person who loved someone. A person who wanted spring. Pause. Miriam Gebhardt, a German historian, spent years analyzing thousands of Feldpost letters. She found that soldiers' letters home rarely matched the propaganda. Men wrote about exhaustion, confusion, homesickness. They wrote about missing their children's voices. They wrote about not understanding what they were dying for. And on the other side, the letters from Jewish prisoners, from resistance fighters, from the occupied populations of a dozen countries. Those letters carry something different. Not confusion, something closer to clarity. As if the removal of a future had stripped everything down to what was essential. Sophie Scholl, the 21-year-old student executed in Munich in February 1943 for distributing anti-Nazi leaflets, wrote in her final letter, "How can we expect righteousness to prevail when there is hardly anyone willing to give himself up individually to a righteous cause?" She was guillotined 4 days after her arrest. We talk about the people who wrote the letters. We talk less about the people who received them. A wife in Hamburg who opened a letter from her husband at Stalingrad and read his handwriting for the last time. A mother in Ohio who received a Western Union telegram before the letter arrived and spent the rest of her life reading the letter in light of that telegram. A father in Warsaw who never received the letter at all, because the postal system had collapsed, because the ghetto had been liquidated, because no infrastructure remained to carry words from the dying to the living. Pause. Some families received letters after the war that had been written years earlier, held in censorship archives, misfiled, forgotten. Imagine that. Imagine the knock on the door in 1947, the envelope with a 1943 postmark, and the handwriting you recognized before you even read the name. The waiting was its own kind of wound, and for many, it never closed. The German Military Archive holds over 3 million Feldpost letters. The Imperial War Museum holds hundreds of thousands of personal letters, diaries, and documents from both sides of the war. The United States Holocaust Memorial Museum has digitized thousands of letters written by victims, many of them the last communications to survive from entire families. These archives exist because someone at every stage made a decision to keep rather than destroy. Families who couldn't bring themselves to throw away a bundle of letters. Archivists who cataloged instead of cleared. Historians who insisted that the private record mattered as much as the military one. Every letter in those archives is a small act of rescue. The person who wrote it is dead. But the voice, the specific, irreplaceable, ungeneralizable voice, is still there. Still saying, "I was here. I thought these things. I loved this person. I did not want to die." We study the battles, we study the generals, the campaigns, the turning points that show up in textbooks. But the letters are where the war actually lived, in the specific weight of what a person chose to say when they knew time was short, in the words they crossed out and rewrote, in the drawings that soldiers tucked in the margins, a house, a tree, a face they were trying to hold on to. Helmuth von Moltke asked his wife to remember his voice. Sophie Scholl asked whether anyone was willing to stand up. The soldier at Stalingrad asked only to see spring. Pause. None of them are famous. Most of them, outside of historians and their own families, are forgotten. This is the work. To go back and read what they wrote. To say their names. To insist that the private record, the letter in the coat lining, the words pressed hard into cheap paper at 2 in the morning, is also history. Pause. Maybe the only history that tells the truth. In our next episode, she had one night to make a decision that would determine whether thousands of people lived or died, and history forgot to write her name down.